Writers were never better than during our formative years. But finding out about them was entirely random. Obviously there was no internet. Electricity itself was fairly recent in some of our houses. And it was rare to meet a fellow aficionado face to face, and enthusiast bookshops were inaccessible to most of us, and so on. We blundered from one random find to another. Some of us had older brothers blazing the way, and really that's exactly what this book is. The perfect older brother, equipped with 20/20 hindsight, saying, "Read this, and then this, and this, and this." I can follow my own snail trail across the landscape that Ripley so comprehensively describes. I can pick my way from A to Z, book to book, zigging and zagging. I can remember the joy of escaping and the thrill of immersion in a fast and gaudy world, and wanting to do it again and again. In that sense, this book feels like my own personal memoir, and inevitably it will to thousands of others too, with their own unique zigzag snail trails, and as such it seems of great sentimental value, like a long-lost diary, like a list of the way stations that carried us through a time that promised to be forever grey. It's also sad in a way. We all missed so much. Zigging and zagging are all very well, but must always conspire to pass by most good things simply by the law of averages. But what's done is done. Instead, we should treat this book like a catch-up manual, and fill in what we didn't read the first time. Some of it might be really good. Some of it might recapture the feeling, which would be worth something. A book I might pay for, indeed. Lee Child, New York, 2016. Preface. I am of the luckiest generation, the one which avoided national service and enjoyed a fee-free university education. They even gave you a grant for going. I spent my early teenage years, and all my pocket money, reading thrillers. It was the first half of the 1960s, and I could, by haunting second-hand bookshops, usually pick up 2, sometimes 3 recent paperbacks for the same price as a top 10 45 RPM vinyl single, which seemed a far better use of my limited disposable income. At least that was my thinking, until I discovered Girlfriends, and the Rolling Stones recorded Beggar's Banquet. I was brought up in a house where a large pile of library books, all fiction, were refreshed every fortnight. Even in a small coal-mining village in the West Riding of Yorkshire, there was a public library attached to the infant school, which was open 2 or 3 evenings a week, and allowed 4 books to be borrowed on each library ticket. My father was a voracious reader of westerns, while my mother's passion was for historical novels. I read thrillers, and I knew exactly what I meant when I said that then, although today I would differentiate and describe myself as having started out on adventure thrillers and then moved on to spy thrillers. Unlike many of my peers, science fiction did not entice, and detective stories or whodunits, to me, were stale and unappetizing, with the singular exception of Raymond Chandler. A thriller would offer excitement and almost certainly a connection to World War II. This was a familiar and important reference point, as the comic books I had been brought up on as a young lad did not feature Batman, Superman, or a Hulk, but soldiers, invariably British or Commonwealth troops, fighting on land, sea, and air against implacable German, inscrutable Japanese, and unreliable, if not cowardly, Italian foes. These 64-page book format magazines were published rather grandly as libraries. There was War Picture Library, Battle Picture Library, Air Ace Picture Library, and from a rival stable, Commando. They cost a shilling, 5p each, and were, as far as I could tell, being a bit of a military history buff, pretty accurate when describing the campaigns of World War II. Why the obsession with World War II? I do not come from a military family, had no career aspirations in that direction, not even the Boy Scouts, and the war itself had ended more than 7 years before I was born. Yet it somehow dominated my childhood. The headmaster of my village primary school was a former Royal Navy Chief Petty Officer. The village priest had been a chaplain with the 14th Army in Burma. I had an impressive collection of toy soldiers, and war films always seemed to be on television, mostly proving that no prison camp could ever hold plucky British escapees when they set their mind to it. When the minor public school I attended took the revolution...